What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Daniel Cormier talks Jon Jones' move to heavyweight. Former pound-for-pound kingpin Jon Jones has been teasing his eventual move to heavyweight for quite some time now. After controversially defeating Dominic Reyes, he then relinquished the title the following summer in pursuit of a move to heavyweight. Unfortunately, since then, little progress has been made towards his return. He was briefly linked to a possible return on the UFC 282 card, but things ultimately fell through. Currently, the hope is that Jones will return in early March to challenge Francis Ngannou for the heavyweight title. If everything goes according to plan, Jones' hiatus could finally be coming to an end. With that, UFC Hall of Famer and longtime bitter rival Daniel Cormier discussed Jones' potential return, saying,
I think he'll be fine. The guy's a good fighter, very talented. I think he'll do well at heavyweight, but it's a matter of him making the leap, right? It feels like been waiting forever for him to fight in this weight class.
Cormier went on to explain that when Jones eventually makes his debut, the division instantly becomes much more fun, with potential matchups against Ngannou, Stipe Miocic, Curtis Blades, and Cyril Gane all receiving considerable attention. It seems like Jones already has a logjam of fighters waiting to test him at heavyweight. According to reports, should Ngannou be unable to compete in March, the UFC will look to match him up with Curtis Blades. The Chicago native is fresh off a win over Tom Aspinall at UFC London this summer, where the hometown hero went down early with a knee injury. Although he was taken aback by the news that he was the targeted replacement for Ngannou, he maintained that if the opportunity to step in for either man arose, he would be ready. When Jones finally makes his return at heavyweight, how do you see things playing out? Give us your predictions in the comment section below. Conor McGregor calls out Irish comedian and soccer legend for charity 2v1 boxing match. Former two-division champion Conor McGregor has been incredibly active on social media as of late. The Irish superstar has been beefing with several fighters, from Dustin Poirier to Nate Diaz. In addition, McGregor has continued to promote his Black Forge Inn and his proper number 12 Irish whiskey. Suffice to say, it's been a busy few weeks for the Notorious One. During the UFC 282 weigh-in show, McGregor caught a stray when Laura Sanko and the Death Crew were listing their top 5 active fighters from the United Kingdom. Without realizing Ireland is not part of the UK, Sanko listed Conor McGregor as one of her favorites, something that caught the attention of Irish comedian PJ Gallagher, who joked on Twitter that if it were up to him, the UK could claim the McGregors as their own. That prompted a response from McGregor himself, who fired off a scathing shot at the comedian that has since been deleted, in which he took aim at Gallagher's recent divorce before pointing out that he spilled blood bringing glory to his country. Paul McGrath, who is widely considered to be one of the greatest athletes from Ireland, then chimed in, calling McGregor a bully, which naturally only fueled another response from the former UFC champion that ended with him blocking McGrath. As a fan attempted to defuse the situation, McGregor responded in another tweet that has since been deleted, by pointing out that he was verbally attacked out of nowhere. Why should I? He attempted to publicly rally people against me with a disgraceful insult, and out of nowhere too, all while being an advocate for mental health in the press. It is the height of hypocrisy. I don't know him, never spoke on him once in my life. That was followed up by McGregor then firing a second shot at McGrath, alleging that the former soccer superstar is banned from pubs where he lives. Before finally calling it quits, McGregor delivered a final 1-2 punch, living up to his notorious nickname by banning the soccer legend from his pubs as well, before then challenging both McGrath and Gallagher to a 2-versus-1 charity boxing match, with proceeds going to mental health and anti-bullying organizations. So far, no word yet on a response from either man. Sean O'Malley stuck between a rock and a hard place with Sterling-Cejudo fight. After Sean O'Malley controversially defeated Peter Yan at UFC 280, he found himself as the bantamweight number 1 contender. Given his standing on the rankings, he should have been booked for a showdown with Aljamain Sterling, who dominated TJ Dillashaw in the co-main event to retain the title. Despite that, it was Henry Cejudo who seems poised for a fight with Sterling. After going through 6 months of testing to return to active competition, Cejudo will now look to successfully make his return by unseating the Funk Master. Although the fight has not been booked for a specific event yet, it seems all but finalized. That leaves O'Malley stuck between a rock and a hard place. If he waits, it could be some time before he gets his crack at the winner. If he decides to fight, he could lose and then forfeit his spot in the rankings. He spoke about the situation on an episode of Michael Bisping's Believe You Me podcast.
I'm kind of in that position to where I'm like, do I be smart like I've done my entire career and just wait for those two dorks to fight? Or do I, risk it and go fight someone else, which is wouldn't be the intelligent thing to do. but it's like you only get so many years to fight. I don't really like sitting around too much, but I'm leaning on towards, waiting for Aljo Henry to fight and just waiting for that.
With no word as to when the fight between Cejudo and Sterling could take place, it will be interesting to see whether O'Malley follows through with his plan to wait for a crack at the belt, or if he decides to step back into the octagon. What do you want to see him do? Give us your thoughts in the comment section below. Before we continue, make sure you give that like button some love, and be sure to subscribe to the MMA Zone for all of the latest news. Ali Expansion Act reportedly set to be reintroduced to US Senate in 2023. According to former UFC veteran Nate Quarry, the United States Senate could be looking to reintroduce the Ali Expansion Act next year in a move that could have widespread ramifications on the MMA world. Quarry took to Twitter to reveal that Oklahoma Congressman Markwayne Mullin informed him that he's planning to introduce the bill once more. The topic of the Ali Act has continued to be a talking point when it comes to the UFC. With MMA being outside the reaches of the Ali Act, promotions like the UFC are free to control the narrative when it comes to matchmaking. If there's a fighter that the promotion doesn't want to see earn a title shot, they can simply offer a title fight to someone else regardless of the rankings. Longtime MMA fans may remember the situation being a topic of conversation back when the UFC booked Dan Henderson for a title fight against Michael Bisping on the final fight of his career. At the time, Henderson was nowhere near a #1 contender spot, resulting in outrage from MMA fans. Since the last time the bill was introduced, the UFC has reportedly been putting in some work behind the scenes, working to make sure that the bill does not pass. According to Quarry, they've even gone so far as to funnel money into campaigns of politicians who will stand against the act. If the bill passes, many have predicted that third-party oversight would completely change the sport of mixed martial arts as we know it. What do you think about the situation? Is it time that the Ali Act expands to cover MMA, or should the UFC continue to operate as is? And now for our breaking news story of the day. Behind-the-scenes footage shows Bryce Mitchell talking retirement following Topuria loss. On the main card of UFC 282, Bryce Mitchell and Ilia Topuria competed in the People's Main Event, as both men put their undefeated records on the line. Early on, it was Topuria who seemed to find success, before he then continued to build momentum into the second round en route to a submission victory. Backstage footage released following the fight showed Mitchell even going so far as to call it quits after the loss.
I'm just in so much pain that I just don't think it's worth it to keep going. So I want to stop with MMA, and I want to take every bit of focus that I've spent every single day on MMA. I want to put it into something else. Everything's meant to be, and I'm just going to move on with my life and take all the energy that I spent doing MMA, I'm going to put it into something else, and I think that I'm going to be extremely successful at whatever I do.
Later in the evening, Mitchell took to Instagram with a message for his fans, revealing that he had the flu going into fight week, and as a result, probably shouldn't have been fighting in the first place. Although he was disappointed by the loss, he maintained that he was going to come back stronger after licking his wounds. Given that Mitchell did not mention retirement in his message to his fans, it sounds as though the talk of retirement backstage was pretty short-lived. With just one loss over 15 professional fights, Thug Nasty is still considered by many to be one of the best in the division. If he does return to the octagon, who do you want to see him fight? Play matchmaker in the comment section below. Thank you so much for joining us today. What do you make of what's going on in the fight world? Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all the latest news from the MMA Zone. See you next time.